Greetings, back with another one. Now, I've been hearing so many great things about this game. First off, I've never been into the Warhammer games at all. I've never played them, but for some odd reason, man, when this new Space Marine 2 game came out, I've been hearing comparisons to Gears of War. And for those who know, y'all know I'm a die-hard Gears of War fan. Right there, man, that's what it's about. But yeah, man, I've been hearing like everybody's been talking about this game, and I think it's been out for like maybe a week and a half now. I don't know. I'm always late to the show, but better late than never. But I'm gonna just react to this review here on IGN talking about the game, man. But I might have to jump on this game, man, because if I'm hearing Gears of War comparisons, then I gotta give it some attention. So let me just shut up and just react to this and just see if there's any correlation or comparisons or either some inspiration to Gears, because sometimes Gears of War when it came out it really amped up this third person shooter, that started in the early 2000s, which I love. I love the third person shooters. It just I don't know, I know Gears just did it for me when it came out, and I've been a diehard fan ever since. But let me shut up, I'm rambling as always. But here, just Warhammer 4000 Space Marine 2 review. Let's check this one out.
What was that? Looks like a neural throw.
It was early on in Warhammer 40,000 Space Marine 2, as I was unloading bolt rifle rounds alongside my squad mates, when I found myself smiling at just how good it feels to be back in the futuristic grimdark fray. It's been over a decade since the original, but Space Marine 2 reinvigorates the squad-based shooter series with seeming ease. The environments are varied and breathtaking. The running and gunning feels great, and the sense of comradeship while fighting with your team, be they bots or friends, can be exhilarating. It may not break much new ground in its genre, but it didn't need to for me to have a blast playing through its 12-hour campaign.
Warhammer 4000 Space Marines 2.
Let's get this out of the way. The original Space Marine clearly took inspiration from Gears of War, and this...
There you go, they say it right there. See, like I said, this is just a blind watch. Like I said, because I'm late, but there you go. So it was actually inspired by Gears of War. They said the original one, but what do you say, like a decade ago? I don't know, because like I said, a decade ago I was playing Gears and other games like that. But yeah, because as you can just see, with the over the shoulder shots and stuff like that, it looks just like Gears. But yeah, let's go.
Sequel follows suit. It's a squad-based shooter starring heavily armored dudes who growl their dialogue.
Brothers, our captain's words need no further embellishment.
While either shooting guns or revving chainswords to ward off invading aliens.
Look, there you go, the chainsaw sword.
Especially when one could make the case that Gears borrowed from Warhammer first. It's been years since I've played a game that scratched that particular itch, and Space Marine 2 uses the rich lore of Warhammer 40k to carve out its own identity. That's true both in the meaty campaign that can be played solo or co-op,
kind of like got a little Anthem feel to it with the mech suits.
You upgrade your weapons and customize your armor between rounds, and are meant to keep you coming back after the credits roll.
A welcome offer. Come on.
The campaign drops you back into the considerable boots of Demetrian Titus, the hero of the first installment. It picks up over 100 years later and does a good job of explaining everything you need to know whether you played the original or not. Despite the century-long gap, not much has changed for our dour hero since we last saw him. He's still a gravelly-voiced, seasoned soldier.
Like I said, I know nothing about the story or the lore of the Warhammer games. I don't know anything about them, so if I decide to jump into this is going to be completely new to me. So I know nothing about it, but just looking at these suits that these guys are wearing, very bulky, armored up. You can see they got those flying features on there, a little jetpack feature where you can like fly. It kind of look like Anthem a little bit, and that was a game that I wish would have taken off, but unfortunately it didn't. But Let's continue.
who doesn't appear to have aged at all thanks to his genetically engineered longevity. He's spent the last century serving in the Space Marines Death Watch chapter, which goes on
That
the
looks
most
pretty cool. That
dangerous of
gameplay,
missions. After an intense opening
looks pretty
level that
cool.
has you deploying a virus bomb, you're rewarded for your bravery and dedication by being brought back into the fold as a blue armored Ultramarine.
Lieutenant, nothing gets across with that beast up there.
The story is more than serviceable, and it moves at a fast clip, sending your squad to interesting locations across several planets. It has a few twists and turns that bring it to surprising places, and there's even some intriguing inter-squad conflict to spice things up. That said, the whole thing is pretty one note. It's all very serious. I get that there's a war going on and lives are on the line, but just a dash of humor, even the gallows humor many other 40k games use, would have added a welcome extra dimension.
Your duty is to the Emperor.
You're accompanied on your missions by
yeah, well, he said a little humor. I wonder will they, like I said, I know nothing about this, so in Gears of War they had Marcus, Dom, Cole, and Baird. Cole and Baird were kind of like they had their moments of humor. Coltrane especially. Marcus was very kind of a very rugged, straightforward type of guy. Just no BS, and Dom was always like his loyal friend who he was kind of like the perfect balance to Marcus. Like he was a very noble guy and very spiritual and all this stuff. And of course, Baird was the mechanical guy and a bit of an a-hole, and Coltrane was just this guy who was just hyper, had like childlike enthusiasm. He always looked at the cup as half full. That's just how he was, and of course with those guys, they had like their their banter and stuff. They would always be they would always be elsewhere doing missions, and then they would come together towards the end of the games and stuff like that. So I'm hopefully we'll see this dynamic. If I decide to jump into this game, but I might have to, especially if it's with the Gears of War comparisons. But continue.
two squad mates who are bots by default, but you can invite friends to take their place. The bots are serviceable comrades capable of doing their part to fend off enemies.
I was told that it had like
you
a
when you
horde
fall
mode
battle,
too
but
in here.
As with
so.
most games like this, it's more fun to play with friends, which you
Enemy
can do
types
from
kinda
your
look like
base with the
Alien.
battle barge.
Astra Militarum forces report multiple contacts with Rubicae throughout the Hive City.
I mean, just
Gone are the orcs from the first Space Marine,
just the
and in their
resemblance to
place
it.
is humanity's latest intergalactic enemy, the Tyranids. These alien monstrosities come in many forms, from hulking carnifex beasts to hordes of smaller creatures that look like xenomorphs or velociraptors. Some can fly, while others swarm across the ground, piling on top of each other to scale
Crazy.
cliffs in order to attack you and the rest of the Imperial Guard's forces. You'll encounter other enemy types as you progress through the campaign as well, which provides enough variety that I rarely got bored of blasting them to shreds with an array of Imperial and alien weaponry.
Acadians.
Yeah, and this is what I was waiting on. I was getting ready to ask a question, because like I said, this is a review, so hopefully they'll break it down, from the guns and maybe like executions and just hopefully they'll go into it. But yeah, definitely the weaponry. How does the weaponry, function in this game?
Will make short work of them.
Indeed.
It's a good thing the guns and melee weapons feel great to use, because that's how you'll spend the bulk of your time in Space Marine 2. You can customize your loadout between missions, picking a primary weapon, sidearm, and close combat accessory to start out with. You also find plenty of weapon caches scattered throughout the levels, letting you swap in flamethrowers, plasma blasters, sniper rifles, power swords, and all manner of explosives, from sticky bombs to shock
Gotta have that
grenades that
sniper
deploy
in
an
there.
electric
That's
area
like
of
a
effect.
favorite in shooters. No matter what shooter you playing, everybody's got to play with the snipers.
There's a weapon
Gotta
for
throw 'em
every
in there.
style of encounter, though you
I wanna know what
usually
the
don't know
shotguns look
what's
like.
ahead when you have to choose. Checkpoints are frequent though, so if you get wiped, you can make a more informed choice the next time.
Revive me!
Hitting an
They had
enemy
that in
with
it.
any of those weapons produces a satisfying splatter of blood. Larger enemies on the brink of death flash red, indicating you can execute them with a gruesome finishing move.
Yeah, of course in Gears, in order to execute people, you gotta down them. This one, you just weak them near death, and you just get to finish them with the finishing move. Yeah, it's just, like I said, that was one thing I loved about Gears 2, just the different executions you can do depending on which weapon you were wielding. In this game, it probably looks like it's going to be doing the same thing. Oh, come on.
red, indicating you can execute them with a gruesome finishing move.
Now I gotta edit this crap. Only when you're recording it does this mess.
Performing executions recharges your shields, which is helpful, and you can
Using
pick
this
up
damn
Medicae
soundbar.
stims to heal or enable
Occasionally goes in and
Titus's
out.
Righteous Fury special ability, which boosts your health bar as you slice through enemies with your melee weapon. I always
so they got
appreciate it when recovering
special
health
super
is
moves,
tied to
okay.
putting a hurt on your enemies.
Gears is still new doing that. This is only
In
the
fact,
Gears is
just
only with
moving
2 games
around
in and
feels
doing
great
that.
In Space Marine 2, you're a hulking, heavily armored soldier, and walking feels appropriately chunky. But your character is also more nimble than he was in the previous outing, so that weight is never aggravating. It feels just right.
Destroy them. Then purge these abominations from the face of this world.
Looking good.
One
I
of
guess
the
they're
main
gonna go into
drawbacks
like
of the original
customizations
Space
maybe.
Marine was its drab brown and gray color palette, an ill-advised trend of the era it came out in. Thankfully, that's gone in favor of much more colorful and lively environments in the sequel. Some levels have you tromping through alien worlds that are green and purple and lush with extraterrestrial flora. Others are set in towering urban areas full of gothic buildings with stained glass windows. Wherever your squad is deployed, the art design is uniformly stunning, gorgeous enough to be worth leaving the previous generation of consoles behind.
They got a little kind of have like a Jacinto feel to it.
Areas are active war zones with human soldiers fighting hordes of enemies both in the foreground and in the background. Sometimes you're following a tank through the ruins of a city, backing up squads of Astra Militarum soldiers. Other times you'll see flying
so
Tyranids
Gears, man,
swarm
the
through
way it
sky
looks.
like a murmuration of starlings, while platoons of soldiers blast projectiles.
like krill in the air
More than
and-
most military games, Space Marine 2 makes it feel like there really is a war going on, and you're only one part of the effort. I'm not usually prone to taking screenshots, but here I found myself switching to photo mode in almost every level so I could capture the beauty.
What are they doing? It matters
War
not.
goes on.
Kill them.
The campaign is a fine enough chunk of game on its own, but that's not all you get in Space Marine 2. In addition to Titus's saga, you can play 2 other modes that aren't so linear, each connected to the other: Operations and Eternal War. Eternal War is a PvP mode, but unfortunately the pre-launch population was so low that I wasn't able to test it out for this review. I was able to spend
So this
time
must be
with
the Horde mode, I
Operations,
guess.
however, which lets you play side missions that are directly referenced in the main story, but are carried out by other teams while Titus does his thing.
I have been dying to carve up some sequels.
In both Operations and Eternal War, you get to choose from 6 classes of Space Marine, each with different
6
loadout
classes.
options and special abilities. There's Tactical, which can use an Auspex scan to highlight and weaken enemies. Sniper has a limited use camo cloak. Bulwark plants a banner flag that restores the shields to any nearby squad mates. Vanguard has a grapnel launcher to pull himself into action for close combat. Assault has the jump pack that Titus uses occasionally in the campaign, and Heavy gets a bubble shield. All the abilities are useful and fun to use in combat. Playing these modes also earns you very
Yeah, that's pretty cool, you know, because you know I know I keep going back to Gears, but like I said, I mean that's what you see a lot in you know, modern, you know, shooters now. You know, you get a campaign, you get a horde mode, and then of course you get the PvP like the death matches and capture the flag and all that stuff. But you know, I love the PvE because sometimes you know you have games, you know, like the Call of Duty games and stuff like that, Battlefield games. They really focus a lot on the PvP, and that's mostly where you know the hours go in for players. But I like when they put a lot of effort and a lot of, you know, love and attention to the PvE modes too. Because like for example, you know, you have people who strictly just play the PvEs and then they try, because like, you know, in Gears, like I've maxed out all the levels in Gears 5 playing horde mode. I play horde mode that much, so hopefully in this game, you know, you have, you know, a level up system, an upgrading system where you can, you know, pretty much the replayability. That's what I'm looking for, replayability in any game that I play, because I heard that the campaign is not as long. So you really want the replayability to really branch out to the PvE and the PvP mode. So obviously the PvP is probably where most people are going to be. I mean, because that's your bread and butter. Because once you complete the campaign, then where do you go from there? So a lot of people are going to go to PvP, and then you'll have your select few people who strictly play PvE. I mean, I do both, you know. And obviously, you know, back in the day, I used to play when, you know, I had like more of a squad. You know, a lot of people really don't. A lot of people fell out of it now, at least the people that I play with. But you know, I'm still active and I still play, you know, that type of stuff. But yeah, let's
It's
continue.
currencies you can spend to upgrade your weapons and customize your armor with cosmetics, which turns out to be great fun. You can unlock a ton of neat emblems and charms for each piece of your armor, as well as new colors that represent different Space Marine chapters. Pretty much all of the colors look cool as hell, and the ornament options let you adorn your dude with chains, skulls, and other details that wouldn't be out of place on the cover of a heavy metal album.
Now go forth and lay waste to our enemies.
The operation
As long as like the cosmetics and these attachments that you can, you know, customize your character with, as long as that stuff is fixed reward. And what I mean by fixed reward, hopefully this stuff is you can just earn it just by playing, just by putting, you know, time into the game, and you can earn them over time. But instead of, you know, these paywalls like that they do, you know, because the one thing about modern games is they always have to inject a battle pass in damn near every game that we play nowadays, man. It's always these battle passes, and you get the battle passes, and just the stuff that you earn is not even worth it, and they want you to pay a premium. But like I said, this is not gonna be this is not a free to play game. So hopefully, you know, the customizations, it's stuff that you could just earn just by playing the game, just putting time into the game, and, you know, having fixed rewards like how games used to be back in the day. You know, before DLC and all this battle pass stuff, we had to earn this stuff just by putting, you know, time and hours into the game. So hopefully, you know, Space Marines 2 will do that, you know, when I get my hands on it.
operations levels themselves aren't all that different from the ones in the campaign, even taking place in the same environments, which does make them a little bit less exciting. There are currently
Gore, that's
6
what I'm looking for.
missions,
Gore,
while
man.
playing through them once was
Bloody
fun,
guts.
especially with co-op partners. I didn't really feel compelled to replay them, even to earn currency to upgrade my weapons and customize my armor. I'm still eager to
Alright,
try
so
out
it's
the Eternal
in-game
War
currency, okay.
PvP mode, as well as the additional modes promised in developer Saber Interactive's post-launch roadmap. But at least at launch, the PvE offerings are more a brief but amusing distraction rather than a mode I'll keep returning to.
Neurothrope purged.
Verdict.
Victory is ours, brothers.
Warhammer 40,000 Space Marine 2 is a terrific third-person shooter with a compelling storyline, loads of weapons that are a blast to use, and a healthy variety of enemies
Hey,
to
boy.
use them on. It once again borrows many of its ideas from the Gears of War series, but they're good ideas, and Space Marine 2 does a fine job of making them its own. And while the operations
roll and
PvE
everything.
mode that accompanies it doesn't currently offer enough to keep me coming back, the deep customization options for your Space Marine do look promising if it's supported in post-launch updates as planned. Besides, when you're eviscerating aliens on planets as pretty as these, it's hard not to leave satisfied. For more, check out our reviews of Star Wars Outlaws or
But yeah, man. Like I said, man, as soon as I heard, you know, Gears of War comparisons and stuff like that, I didn't really know if it was inspired by the Gears of War series, but hey, man, I think it was with Focus Entertainment that developed this game. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think they did it. But hell, man, you picked a great franchise to grasp some inspiration from, man. I'm not mad at you at all. But yeah, man, from what I'm seeing, I mean, like I said, this is IGN. IGN, they rarely, you know, I mean, their scores are always, you know, kind of like above average and stuff. Like I've never seen like a low. I'm sure they're out there, but most of this, they're mostly positive, you know, with their scores. But I just wanted to just use this video as just a way to react and, you know, put my 31 cents in like I always do. But yeah, man, anybody who currently has the game or who's been playing it, you know, let me know what you think of it, man, because from what I'm seeing, it looks pretty good, man. I mean, the variety of, you know, weapons, you know, the combat, I mean, the executions, the customizations. They got a PvP / horde mode, I guess you can call it. They got, you know, death matches and stuff like that. But from what I see, it's looking really good, man. And I talked to a buddy of mine, and he got his hands on it. So I mean, he's having a good time with it. So yeah, man. I mean, Space Marines 2 looking good, and I will, you know, get it at some point. I'm waiting for a price drop because games today are just a little bit too much. But I can understand because they cost so much to make nowadays. But yeah, man, it's your boy Chris Bleak signing off. Until next time, guys. Us.